You're listening to the Chopped Podcast, episode number 115. Hey everyone, I'm Marley of the blog Namely Marley. I am your host, and this is the Chopped Podcast. You know this is the podcast designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Each week, my goal is to share with you thoughts, stories, interviews, everything related to food blogging so we can all learn together about what works with food blogging and maybe even a little bit about what doesn't. So, have you heard the news? Kara had her baby. I'm so excited. She and her husband, Matt, welcomed Jackson to the world on Monday. I cried tears of joy when I got her text that little Jax had come into the world. I'm just so excited for them. I'm sure you can go on Facebook or Instagram and look up My Fork and Beans, and you'll see how gorgeous he is. He's just a little cutie. As you can imagine, our fry chats will be on delay until Kara gets out of that honeymoon phase with little Jax. And you know, we all have to go through that. The first baby, you're going to just want to be in love with that baby for a few days. So we'll give her some time. And then once she's ready, we'll be back and doing some regular fry chats. But in the meantime, Kara, we're all sending you hugs and a lot of love to all three of you. So, okay, as I mentioned last week, we are busy behind the scenes getting interviews scheduled and recorded, and we have some amazing fresh content coming your way. It's coming very soon. I'm really excited. It's the start of the new year, and that brings such enthusiasm for everything, don't you think? I thought in keeping with that, it would be so good to share a previous discussion that I had with Liz Della Croce on the topic of maintaining personal health goals as a food blogger. Because I don't know about you, but I have battled with my weight in the past. I guess I could say in the present too. And sometimes I have these days where I just don't want to be around food all the time. I don't know. I just think that, I don't know, but it's probably just like these moments of general weakness for me, moments where maybe I'm outside of who I really am and I feel a lack of confidence in myself. And it's like I feel like if I eat one bite of one brownie, I might as well eat the whole pan, or I'm going to eat the whole pan. And then, you know, I just feel like, I don't know, I just don't want to be around food sometimes, to be completely honest. So my reaction lately has been one that I feel a little bit better about. So I want to share it with you all because I've decided that I refuse to feel guilty about eating. And I say this to myself as I'm eating, and guess what? It has made a really big difference. I just relax. I take the kind of forbidden fruit syndrome away from eating. I mean, I think I've always had a tendency to feel a little bit sneaky when I'm eating, to be completely honest, or not all the time, but you know, like I'll sneak into the kitchen and have one more bite of that cake or things like that. And I think I have this tendency to want to sneak bites, and I don't even know where that comes from. It's probably, you know, some deep-seated thing, right? But then I think to myself, who am I actually sneaking this from in the first place, right? Because it's going to show up on my hips. So it's not as if like I'm hiding things from everybody else. I'm just, I don't know. There's just some tendency to want to be sneaky about it. And I don't know, by saying that I refuse to feel guilty about what I'm eating, I don't know. It feels like I just kind of like a sense of acceptance comes about me, and I feel less emotionally charged about the food. And I don't know, it's working for me. So if you try it, I would love to know what your thoughts are on it, and if that works for you as well. I also have another story I want to share with you because my mom is sick right now. She was diagnosed with dementia last week, and it seems like, I don't know, it's like a very rapid descent. We're all quite in shock and trying to figure all of this out, and it's been, you know, pretty tough times. My sisters and I we just have this goal of trying to keep her at home as long as possible. I don't know how long we can do this, but this is what we're doing for now. And anyway, Sunday was my day to be on mom duty. And you know what? It's so bizarre because I spent the whole day in the kitchen. My mom doesn't have Wi-Fi. I had my work with me, but it's not like I could do very much work because I didn't have, internet connection. I mean, I did on my phone, but I don't know. I didn't really want to mess with it that way. And I don't know, I just found it surprising that I ended up in the kitchen and I made brownies. I didn't make brownies. I made muffins and I froze those for later days. I also made a chocolate cake, and we had the family coming over. And so I wanted to have that for them as well, but also for, days other people are there being caretakers. And I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like I have these moments where I'm wondering, am I on the right track? Am I doing the right thing? Do I want to be dealing with food all the time? And then to have this free day and to spend that day in the kitchen, I don't know. There's like this sense of creating things out of nothing or moving around that felt very healing to me. And it just also kind of reiterated to me that, yeah, my passion is food. And I really, it helps me through dark times. It helps me just to kind of reconnect with myself. So it was a little bit like recommitting to a passion is how that ended up feeling for me. And this leads me to one more thing I want to tell you, and that is Kara, before she went on maternity leave, mentioned a book to me, and I finally got it from the library. It's called You Are a Badass. It's by Jen Sincero. I am trying to get her on the show because I would really love to talk with her more about the book, and so you hopefully will be hearing more about it soon. Anyway, I love this quote. I want to read it to you from the book. Wanting can be done sitting on the couch with a bong in your hand and a travel magazine in your lap. Deciding means jumping in all the way, doing whatever it takes, and going after your dreams with the tenacity of a dateless cheerleader a week before prom night. I love that quote. And I don't know, like, I think I resonated. I think if you've listened to a few episodes past, I did that I want mantra as well. And I think I've really been into this I want versus I am, or being the decider versus being the one that's just kind of talking about things. And it just made me realize food bloggers are people of action. We can't walk around saying the I want words all the time. We are the I am people. We are going to get out there and do it. And I just, find that very inspiring to be amongst people like that, the people who are out there actually doing things. So I believe you're going to be hearing more about this kind of, I am doing things from today's discussion with Liz. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, you all, let's go straight to the feature interview today with Liz Della Croce. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have Liz Della Croce of the healthy and delicious blog, The Lemon Bowl, on the show today. Liz, welcome to Chopped Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And Liz, your recipes, I just love the things that you do within the food blogging community and the recipes that you share. It's all so inspiring. But before we get into all that, I'd like to say, and I really actually ask you how this all began. Like, what caused you to decide to start a food blog?
Great question. It really came about as requests started to come in from friends and family after I had lost about 35 pounds.
Wow, that's great.
Well, thank you. And so people just wanted to know what I was eating because I've always been a foodie and really into food and traveling and restaurants. So they knew I wasn't eating a lean cuisine every day for lunch. So they really, you know how that goes once someone loses a significant amount of weight, the questions just start to come in. What are you doing? What are you eating? And really just a few people just started suggesting I start a blog. So that was really, it was just popular request. I was just really grateful that, people asked me to do it.
Wow, that's great. And so then that's, you really started out with this mission of sharing healthy recipes.
Absolutely. Healthy recipes as well as my family recipes because I come from a very big Mediterranean blood on all sides, dad's side, mom's side. I come from a long line of really great cooks, and we're always having family parties and gatherings. And of course, they're always centered around food, primarily Middle Eastern, Lebanese food, as well as my dad's side is Jewish. So, huge fun Passover fests and different exciting meal-themed holidays. And so, growing up in West Michigan, which is a primarily Dutch community that wasn't necessarily used or accustomed to all these huge, loud families
Yes.
and all this somewhat, I guess you would say, diverse food, I think that was the other big reason why people were asking me to share the recipes because it was just food. We didn't eat a lot of casseroles or typical, West Michigan food that you'd be eating out here.
So the things that you had on, you were sharing were kind of interesting and unique, and that was your approach.
I was a little girl eating hummus before it was really popular.
Did you ever watch that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
Oh, that is my family.
I love that. There's that line where she brings her moussaka for lunch. Yeah. Moussaka.
Exactly. You like lamb? Here's some lamb. So true, though. And
yeah, it was really funny.
I grew up with it, so to me it's normal. But then I'll go to friends' houses and their meals are very quiet and you can hear the clanking of the silverware on the plate. And those situations just make me nervous because I just grew up with really vivacious, loud, very female dominant,
Mhm.
just loud, fun parties, just big family events.
I just
Loud.
think that's how food should be eaten personally,
Yes.
It's a
That's a good one.
festivity.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I mean
So,
that's where the word festive, comes from all
yes,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
So your
Exactly.
recipes and your photographs, they've been featured on things like Shape magazine and Real Simple, and I was just curious, like that's got to be a great feeling to see your food photography
It,
in print.
yeah, it is very surreal to me. It's a total dream come true.
Did you ever, I mean, when you started, did you have any idea something like that would happen?
The only thing, and this is so weird, I have always dreamed of being on the Today Show. And I think it's because my family grew up watching it every morning. Random fun fact, my mom and the Today Show have the exact same birthday. And I mean the date and the year, and I won't say the year out loud, she'll kill me. But so the Today Show was literally every day of her life and then every
Wow.
day of my life. So I don't know. I've always been, my dream in life would be to be on TV, like the Food Network. So for whatever reason, the only thing I always wanted to be on the Today Show, and randomly I was on the Today Show many years ago. And so in that regard, it was almost like I knew I would get there one day for some random reason, but I never knew how or why, and I never imagined my recipes would ever be featured in, the magazines I grew up reading, like Real Simple and, Shape magazine. That's
Yeah.
just it never gets old to me, and I don't take any of it for granted. And it's, you sometimes feel silly talking about it because so many bloggers are featured in so many things, and it's almost just part of every day. But to me, it's all still really exciting and really cool, and I don't ever want to get used to it to the
Yeah.
point where it doesn't excite me anymore.
Yeah. That's a sign that you're doing what you love, I think, that,
Yeah.
when you get that thrilled about something every single time it happens.
Absolutely. I am for sure doing what I love and what I was meant to do. And I feel very lucky to be doing what I love because it doesn't feel like work to me. And I don't dread Sundays and Monday morning. And yeah, I feel very, very lucky.
Well, I'm from Missouri, and we've got Mark Twain, and I believe it was him that said, "Do what you love, and then you never have to work a day in your life."
It's so true. And I know that it can be easier said than done.
Yeah,
So that's why I feel very lucky that that's happened to me.
that's nice. Are you a self-taught photographer?
I am not a photographer.
Oh, come on! I've seen your photos.
You're very sweet. I only use my iPhone for all of my pictures. I
Really?
don't even own a camera.
I had no idea. That's great.
I mean, I'm more comfortable. I used to be much more embarrassed about it, but it was actually a few years ago when it helped when brands started saying how much they love my photography, just in that it helped me realize that it was okay
Hmm.
to not be the same as every other photographer or every other blogger who, uses certain cameras and things like that. So over time I've become more comfortable with it. But yeah, photography is certainly not a passion of mine, and it is, in my mind, it is not my strong point. But I appreciate your kind words, and I really, I thank you for that. I don't mean to turn away a compliment, but it's funny when you say that because
Well,
I just,
hopefully this is some kind of inspiration to people out there that realize they don't have, I think sometimes there's this expectation that you've got to take
yeah,
these phenomenal photos
yes,
and
absolutely.
not to say that you don't, but I'm just saying it sounds like your emphasis is not on the photos. It's really on the recipes and the
Yeah.
community.
Yes, it is. The photography, and that is something that I always tell people who ask is to focus on what you are passionate about, and you can't do everything. So photography is not a passion for me. So for example, I don't go out hunting for food props, and I don't spend a lot of time on background settings and perfect little pictures of milk. And again, nothing against any of that, but just because it doesn't excite me, I choose to spend my time elsewhere. And I think that that's important because people wonder how you do everything. And I think people need to realize nobody can do everything.
Yes.
So, for example, one thing I do that is different from most food bloggers is I calculate the nutrition facts for every single recipe in my website.
Ah.
So some people, they rather spend that time doing step-by-step photography. So everyone kind of needs to pick and choose what is really what they value and what is most important to them.
What's your favorite resource for nutritional, calculation?
Well, I use the resource that I used with my weight loss journey, which is myfooddiary.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an online website that I do pay for it. And it's the website that I used. That's actually how I lost weight, was by calculating the calories and making sure that I was burning more calories than I was eating. And
Mm-hmm.
so the nice thing is that I've just always input all of my recipes in there, and I got in the habit of doing that. So yeah, that's what I use. It's myfooddiary.com. But there are other free ways you can do that, like MyFitnessPal, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you could Google different resources, but yeah.
And then you just cut and paste that, gives you that little, or you
I
just,
manually enter it into
okay,
my recipe plugin, which is Easy Recipes Plus.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
that way it's like it's in the
It looks like
metadata.
exactly. In that way, Google actually picks it up,
Wow, that's
which
great.
is nice because I think that helps with SEO rankings because
Yes.
it's another thing that Google recognizes when they, you know, I don't really understand. This is just how my husband explains it. Obviously, that's not why I do it. But yeah, you're correct. It's another thing that Google can read.
Well, and so, but you really have designed your site to be on the focus of health and nutrition and.
Yeah, because I'm very passionate about, living a healthy, happy lifestyle. And I think that health is such an important part of living a happy life is that taking care of yourself and also not taking good health for granted.
Right.
And I really think that food is such a powerful, easy, accessible way to live a healthier lifestyle by eating better foods.
Now, see,
So
I
that,
thought you were going to say it's such an easy, like it can be like a drug.
oh,
Food
well,
can be.
that's true too. But you think about it, in my mind, it's a lot easier to eat an apple every day than, take some crazy spin class or maybe some crazy medication
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. To me, I feel like food is an easy way to live a healthy lifestyle because you have opportunities at every meal to help your health and to boost your nutrition.
It's so true. It's so
And
true.
yeah.
Liz,
I-
I'll give you a little confession here, and that is that starting the new year, I've been drinking green tea every day.
Oh, I just had some. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I feel so amazing. I just
Isn't
love
that
it.
cool?
Yeah. So I feel like I can really speak to what you just said that,
Yeah.
I'm always kind of careful about what I eat anyway, but
Yeah. Sure.
I really am just feeling great. And I'm pretty sure it's because of the green tea.
I think it is. It's
Yeah.
so good for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's really worth like you say. I mean, if you knew that you could do something like that versus taking some pill that
Yeah.
or drinking coffee that gives you that jump and an
Right.
alert and energy, I feel like I got all the energy I need right now.
Right. Exactly. And I think that when we eat food or feed our families, that it's important to eat foods that have a dual purpose. So, of course, you eat for the energy and to satisfy your hunger, but why not also prevent heart disease or prevent cancer or whatever else? I'm all about, and I don't know if my dad's a doctor, so I think that's part of it, is that I've always been about health prevention.
Hmm.
And knock on wood, I have pretty healthy genes in my family, but I never want to take that for granted.
Right.
So I really, everything I eat is with and I mean, I'm not everything, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I live by the 80-20 rule. So 80% of what I eat, I try to eat foods that will also protect my health and, of course, my family's health.
Ah, that's a good rule. I think that kind of is similar to Michael Pollan, who says
Yeah.
eat sweets on the days that start with an S.
Oh, I like that. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I mean, and I try to follow that, but that doesn't mean I don't have. It
Yeah.
means I
But
have the
it's
more
good
indulgent
to
sweets on the weekends, but I'll
know.
still have like, an energy bite through the week or whatever.
But I like that
Yeah.
idea because someone just recently asked me why I'm not paleo or why I don't do any specific no carb. And the reason for me personally is because I don't think any of that is sustainable long term.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and I actually just wrote a post about how I live by the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
And it's because of the fact that the reason I'm able to be so disciplined most of the time is because I know that if I want a cookie, I can always have a cookie.
Right.
That's eating a cookie is part of my plan. And so if you look at it as part of your plan versus, oh no, I just ate 100 cookies. Like I don't fall into these pitfalls of if you eat one, you need to eat 100, or oh, the day's a wash. You know what? The weekend's a whole wash. Forget it. I'm not going to the gym all week. I don't get into that because I always know I have built-in times to indulge in foods that might not be protecting my health.
Yes. Have you ever had times that, like you would eat a whole sleeve of Oreos or something like that?
So I'm a little embarrassed, but I really have not. And
Okay.
I have some friends with really major sweet tooths, and they make fun of me because for whatever reason, I have very good self-discipline. I think part of it, I don't have a huge sweet tooth,
Mm.
so I don't crave sugar. I don't really love pizza, or I don't really crave
Wow.
carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of the weight. I really don't know. I would rather have like some salty cheeses or nuts. I crave protein.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's your blood type. There's all the different theories. So I can't really take too much credit. But for example, I could easily go all of Halloween with not eating a single piece of Halloween candy
Oh my
or
gosh.
Easter candy. I probably won't have a single piece of Easter candy. And I really am not saying that to show off. I mean, part of it, there's a few reasons. Number one, I don't think the calories are worth it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I remember like a few years ago, I had a piece of Halloween candy and I ate the Reese's peanut butter cup,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like totally not worth it in my mind.
Yeah.
It just was like not as exciting as, people get a little bit crazy about those things.
Yeah.
I mean, Easter comes around and Cadbury eggs. Girl Scout cookies, for example, I don't ever eat a single one.
Yeah.
For one, I'm not going to order them. Like,
Right.
why make it harder on yourself by having it around?
Right.
I think the thing is that we need to all realize that willpower is only so strong. So why not, humans, it's hard by nature for humans to resist, a pack of Thin Mints right next to you.
Yeah.
So why not make it easier and just not order the Thin Mints,
Well,
right?
that's a great question. And that kind of leads me to one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you today. And that is from the perspective of the food blogger. It can be, you do have to have, I mean, if we're catering to our readers and as a part of that, like, let's say I make cookies this week.
Right.
I have those cookies around the house. Do you have tips as a food blogger? Like when you make something that's particularly enticing, what are your tips for how to deal with that?
Yes. So I definitely run into that because even if might not be some crazy cake, I
Yeah.
definitely make foods that if I eat a lot of it, it's too much. So my biggest tip is I'm all about portion control just because I think that if you're sitting in front of a huge platter of all of what you just made, like like today I made granola. So it's a
I
huge, it's
love
served,
granola.
I do too.
One bite after another
Oh,
after
it's
another.
addictive, right? And guess what? My recipe serves 24.
Oh,
So
oh,
I don't need to be,
yeah.
if I'm gonna, so for example, you photograph it.
Hmm.
The minute I'm done photographing it, I will measure out a portion for myself and then put the rest away, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
That's obviously one big tip because everything we make, we do eat.
Yeah.
So, for example, this might sound crazy. I don't really give much away, or I mean, I cooked for my neighbors last night, but I cooked something specifically for them. I don't typically, have a bunch of things to give away because really I'm blogging the foods that I'm actually feeding my family that we're just eating throughout the week.
Right.
So I can't give it away, but obviously giving it away would be a great option.
Yeah.
So if you've got, like a husband that goes into an office,
Uh-huh.
and I know a lot of bloggers do that, and that's a really, great tip to give it to your neighbors. You can also freeze food or just put it in a Tupperware container and have it for the whole week. Because I do a lot of meal prepping and things like that so that I do have healthy foods available.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's tough because I'm not really like frying up a bunch of French fries, which I would eat the whole thing of.
Oh, I love French fries.
I do
Yeah.
too.
Well, I've been rereading Stephen Covey's book, The Seven Habits of Highly Successful People.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's a great book, and he talks in there about the proactive versus reactive kind of ways of dealing with how you react to other people. And I
Okay.
realized from that I guess I'm really highly reactive, which is not the way you want to be. You want to be
Okay.
proactive over your own feelings. And so
Okay.
I'm that way with food, I've decided. Like, it's
Mm,
almost like I have to have this perfect day. And if anything comes along, like all of a
yeah.
sudden I'm photographing these cookies and a little
Mm,
bit of the chocolate lands on my finger and I
right.
happen to lick that chocolate off, oh, forget it. Now I'm going to have like
Right.
five cookies. That to me, that's a
Right.
really reactive way of eating.
That's a really good way of looking at it. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, it's tough with sugar because sugar is by nature very addictive. It's almost your brain has that same reaction as it does when if you were to take cocaine. It's that same. I mean, I joke about it, but it is actually true that
Wow.
obviously different levels, but it shoots out those same neurons that make you instantly crave more because that's why we want to eat a sleeve of cookies or lick the whole bowl of brownie batter
Hmm.
because sugar acts that way, whereas, a carrot does not. It doesn't fire off those same neurons in your brain. So I will admit that if I were to make brownies, I don't lick the bowl sometimes. I mean, look, sometimes I do. But if I'm trying to be really good,
Right.
I don't lick the bowl because if I lick the bowl, I'll end up eating a whole brownie's worth of calories in batter, and then I'll want to have a brownie when it's cooked.
Yeah.
And then, you're making it just harder for yourself, especially with sugar, which is by nature very addictive.
Oh, that's good to know. So, to being extra careful about that is good. Is okay.
I think it is. I mean, at the same time, too, I love saying this. This isn't your last cookie. That's
Yes.
one of my
Yes.
favorite
Yeah.
phrases.
You can
Uh,
have another one later, but not right now.
exactly. I wrote a post about, I forget the specific title. I think it might have been about either breaking weight loss plateaus, but regardless, this is not your last cookie. And I think that it's human nature. Look, I'm looking out at a ton of snow. We're probably supposed to be hibernating and storing for the winter and
Yeah.
eating all the carbs. But guess what? I could eat a cookie at any time, any day of the week. Some people in big cities could order a milkshake at 2 a.m. We are not in the type of environment where we have to worry about eating our last cookie. So if you just, a lot of it's in your brain that you think you need to have it. But if you tell yourself, you can have that cookie, there will be more cookies, there will be another meal, there will be another snack. It, I think, helps you from feeling the need to indulge as much as you might like to.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you can never eat so much that you're never going to be hungry again.
Right.
You're going to be hungry again. And so,
That's a great point.
yeah, so just eat enough to, eat a bite or two or
Right.
whatever.
You'll have
And
another meal in 3 hours
yes, exactly.
and then another one after that.
Right, right. And then it also, if you can maybe recover, I'm thinking of myself here, if I can recover more quickly. So when I do accidentally take a little nibble of that cookie as I'm
Mhm.
shooting it, just to help myself reset really quickly.
Yes, don't wait for Monday morning.
Yeah.
Start at your very next meal or start at your very next, if you miss a
Or
workout, don't miss the whole week, just go tomorrow.
right, I don't have to like eat the whole half thing of
It's
batter.
not all or nothing. And I think so many
Yeah.
people have that all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think whereas they think they're being very successful and driven and smart, that can actually be your biggest pitfall
Yeah.
because life is not all or nothing. Life is very much gray, it's not black and white. And so you're setting yourself up for failure if you have that mentality. And I know a lot of people, it's subconscious and they don't even realize it necessarily. But I think you bring up a good point that we have to just forgive ourselves and move on. And that's where I go back to the 80-20 rule. By having that 20% built in, you don't
Uh,
feel guilty about it, which means you don't make the whole day a wash.
right. Recover quickly, get back on track. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think those could be, I think we both know that those are the kinds of things that could cause a food blogger to want to go, I don't want to deal with food every day because
Hmm.
I have no self-control around it. And
Right.
so I just can't do this. And
Right.
hopefully these are the kind of tips that can help guide a person through that kind of stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And then also having, I think, sometimes my favorite tip is I actually just have a pack of gum and I just put some
Oh,
gum in
that's
my
a
mouth.
great.
You
And
know?
you can also brush your teeth.
Yes, my husband does that. He brushes his teeth
Yeah,
after every meal.
it's such a good tip because, or like you can drink tea. Like I drink hot tea a lot at night.
Yeah, I do too.
And another tip I have for nighttime sweet cravings is that if you start to crave sweets after dinner or at night, you're usually just tired. And so
Really?
I urge people just to go to bed because usually what happens is sugar is a very fast energy resource for the body.
Mm-hmm.
So you crave it because you're looking for some energy because you're tired. But
Interesting.
really you're probably just you're probably tired. So instead of getting yourself a 20-minute buzz from sugar, because sugar obviously the energy doesn't last long.
Right.
So you're better off just going to sleep.
Just skip the donut or the brownie or whatever and
Go to bed.
go to bed.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth and go to bed.
Because I always notice like around 9 o'clock I'll start craving chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And again, nothing wrong with chocolate. It just, if it's, especially if you're looking to lose weight, that's just a good opportunity to avoid hundreds of empty calories that I'd rather spend on really good, high quality food.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that's the other thing I've been telling myself lately is like, if it is a Saturday night and I know I've got a dessert I want to have after dinner, I try to remember to eat a little bit because I know a little bit less because I know I
Right,
want to have some of that dessert.
right.
But
Exactly. Like allocating for it.
yeah,
That's a great idea.
yeah. Okay, so I was just going to ask you about you're a full-time food blogger now, right?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
love it?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never thought I would be doing this full time. And it's just, I feel very lucky because food is and has always been my passion. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to have stumbled upon this as a full-time career.
That's great. What skills do you think are the most helpful to you as a food blogger?
I think that having professional communication skills has been very helpful for me
Hmm.
because so much of what we do is email communications and phone communications and even face-to-face communications at different events and press trips. And most of my most lucrative business opportunities have come from communicating with other professionals. And I feel that a lot of my background in college and working in hotels has really helped me because, it's just something that I might not have had otherwise if I
Hmm.
just had not worked in a corporate environment or whatever else. So I think that those business communication skills are extremely important if you're going to be blogging professionally because it opens you up to so many more lucrative opportunities.
Oh, that's a really good point. And that's probably one area that you're not going to grow in unless you purposefully try to.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, because we talk so much about quality content and photography
right.
and recipes, and don't get me wrong, all of that is extremely important. But I do think that if you are looking to make a diverse income, and I think that's another thing that I'm really big into is a diverse income,
Hmm.
because only 20% of my income, for example, is from ad revenue.
Oh, wow.
So, whereas I know that obviously you want beautiful photos and great recipes for that as well, but I think that if you're going to have a bunch of different income streams, you need to have those strong communication skills because you're communicating with typically it's public relations,
Hmm.
managers or account executives that have gone to communication schools.
Yes.
And most bloggers haven't.
Right.
So being able to communicate with them on their level and show that you're professional, I think it also helps set you apart from other bloggers, which is very important in today's environment.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You mentioned that 20% of your revenue comes from ads. Do you mind sharing like what the other categories are?
Yeah, and of course, I won't remember them all off the top of my head. I think of it as like a big pie chart.
Yes.
And I just remember reading many years ago about, when I became self-employed and I knew that I was working for Marriott hotels where I had a beautiful little salary that was set
Yes.
the same.
And benefits. Yeah. I
Exactly.
love those. Yeah.
Yeah. And being self-employed is very risky.
Yeah.
And the best way to minimize your risk is to have a diverse revenue stream. That way, for example, right now everyone is all very fired up about ad revenue and how the environment and the current market landscape is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if my ad revenue were more than 20%, I'd probably be a bit more stressed out and anxious about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason why that's important is because if you're stressed out and anxious about your traffic and your stats and all that, guess what? You're probably not putting your passion into what you're creating as far as recipes and photography
Right.
and your writing. And I think that it's a downward spiral sometimes
Yeah, I agree.
because you're losing your focus.
Yes. And if you're making decisions based on the money versus on the other things,
Right.
that can be, it's a careful dance. You've got to be, you know.
Exactly. And so to answer your question, I do a lot of freelance writing.
Mm.
So that's when I write for example, a brand might have their own blog on their
Mm-hmm.
website, and they would rather hire me to write articles versus having to hire a full-time person. It's easier for them to hire me case by case, or I
Right.
should say it's more affordable for them.
Yeah.
Um, and so freelance writing is a big part of my income. And the nice thing with that is even though that's a huge part of my pie, it's from many different sources. So again, it does break up that pie chart again.
And
Because,
it's also building relationships too.
right, exactly. And a lot of that is a domino effect to new opportunities.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen is I'll have an editor that will recommend me to another editor that she knows. Because, just like us bloggers, all PR people, editors, people that write articles for all the big, websites, they all are in their own little groups together. Or
Right.
I should say they're probably big groups.
Yes.
So they have colleagues just like we do, and just like we recommend other bloggers for different opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
they often recommend writers. And so a lot of what has happened is that I would get a few opportunities in the beginning, and then they would recommend me to new opportunities, and it's just kind of grown from there.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just been really great to be able to. I guess it's nice because I really never check my traffic. I couldn't tell you my page views today or yesterday or last week, and I think it's because it does not. I don't have to worry about.
It doesn't define you.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I'm not. I make an income from my blog, and I do blog to help pay our bills. So the income is important to me, but I don't think that my traffic correlates with my income. It's not this needs to be this to get that, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that makes
So
sense.
it's nice because then I'm not all stressed out about it. And also when you're focusing on that, you're not focusing on creating quality content.
That's right. And I noticed you had something on your site. What's it called? Healthy.
Healthy habits?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that kind of some kind of platform or?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, I'd say 2.5 years ago now, I started that as a section on my blog that is really dedicated to living a healthier lifestyle. And it's divided into three categories, and that is nutrition, weight loss, and fitness, because those are all three, key parts of my life. Because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
fitness and nutrition are the way I've been able to lose weight and
Mm-hmm.
maintain the weight loss. And of course, with babies, you lose it again and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's nice because then what I did was I did a reader survey as well. I'd say I did that after I started it, but people want that information that might not be a recipe, but they want to know, how did you break that weight loss plateau? Or how did you lose the baby weight?
Mm-hmm.
Or what exercises do you do to lose the weight or to build muscle, etc. So it's just nice to be able to talk about different topics that aren't necessarily just writing recipes, but that goes into the other side of my life, which is all about living your healthiest life.
That's great. So it's like a membership forum?
Oh no, no. It's just a separate part of my blog where I talk about
Oh,
things other than food.
I see. I got you. It's
Yeah,
like a compartment for.
it's just more free stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just another part of my blog, just like the travel part of my blog and things like that.
That's great. I had one more question about your blog itself. Do you have a process for how you select which recipes? I mean, like, as far as a mix of sweets versus savory versus, or do you just, this is what I'm passionate about this week?
Sure. Um, No, there is no guideline. I'd say the biggest guideline is creating recipes that my readers want,
Yeah.
just from feedback I get from them, from emails or my newsletter or my reader survey. So when I do create, I should say when I pick the recipes that I want to share in my blog, because I'm cooking all the time, but I don't
Yeah.
share everything I cook. So the recipes that I choose to share on the Lemon Bowl are the recipes that I know are going to be the most useful to my readers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helpful now that I really know who my audience is, and um, it
Some of them
helps
are,
me as well
sorry
feel
about that.
comfortable about what I'm sharing because I know that that's what they're looking for. Whereas it might not be the coolest thing on Pinterest, or it might not impress another blogger, but that's really not my focus, because it's really just about creating recipes that I know my readers are looking for.
That's great. I think that's such great advice too, to, take the emphasis off yourself and it's really more about what your readers want.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, that's really your driving force and the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what will make you a successful blogger long term.
Yeah. So what's your favorite social media platform right now?
For sure, it's Instagram. I
It's
just
a
love
popular answer right now.
it is.
Yeah.
I just love Instagram, but I will say I don't hate any other platform. I know
Right.
people hate Facebook or they hate Google Plus. I enjoy them because they all have different benefits.
I agree.
And I think that it's important, just like diversifying your income. I think there is a benefit to diversifying your social media presence. And I enjoy them all for different reasons. And I think that the key is not to spend your day in any one of them.
Yeah. Yes.
But personally, I love Instagram because I really like seeing the glimpse into, of course, other bloggers' lives, but just also a lot of my readers and I connect on Instagram,
Yeah.
and much more in a way that we can on Twitter or Facebook or even through my blog comments. I love when they'll tag me in a picture of something they made from my website or things like that. It's just such a nice way to connect with people or see their kids or
Yeah.
see them out and about in the weekend. So it helps you really form that community with your readers.
So you kind of have a more behind the scenes look at of, your site
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
absolutely. Because a lot of people will write to me. It's hard to explain how you just kind of learn who your readers are, but a comment doesn't have any pictures, or it's just hard to really remember who they are, or different things about them. Whereas on Instagram, you can see what their kids look like, or
Yeah.
how old their kids are, or you can also discover commonalities that you have, like, oh, we have kids the same age, or things like that. So I really like it. And I also have found Instagram to be very important for my business side of my blog
Mm.
because so many brands are on it. And I
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of opportunities from brands that find me on Instagram.
And do you reach out to them or they're just reaching out to you? And
And luckily, I mean, at this point, they're primarily reaching out to me.
that's great.
I'm very grateful for it. And yeah, it's just great, especially because I have such a niche with the types of brands I can work with.
Mm-hmm.
Just because and I know so many bloggers do the same thing, but much of what comes to me I do turn down because it's just not anything I would normally ever feed my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so the nice thing with Instagram is that, and I don't know if it's because there's so many, you know, produce or fruits and vegetable brands, or I don't really know exactly why, or maybe I feel like there's so many farm pictures, but Instagram has just been such a great way for me to connect with maybe some of the more niche brands
Mm-hmm.
that are not the huge big five.
Yeah.
um, they all just happen to have great presences on Instagram, and vice versa. I think I know my farmers market pictures get a lot of brand interest over the summer, uh,
Yes.
for whatever reason. Probably because I post too many of them.
Well, you're very inspired by them and it's so obvious. It's
I,
great.
I'm a total freak. I
I
am
love it.
obsessed with the farmers. It's bad, but I figure,
No, it's great. It's really good.
Thanks.
Don't you
Yeah.
think? I mean, it's supporting local businesses. It's,
Yeah.
there's just so much good about it.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I've been going to them my whole life, the same one that I go to now, and it's just fun to take my kids there. And Michigan, especially, we have such great produce when the ground's not frozen.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's fun to kind of show people the side of Michigan that isn't necessarily the bad news that's always on the news.
yeah.
But yeah, we're huge for agriculture, so I'm very passionate about Michigan and agriculture, and yeah, maybe that is what stands out, and that's what brands like. But I think that's just another reason I love Instagram. I just find it to be a bit more personal as well with connecting with brands because they really see, I'm not faking it. Like that's
Right.
me out holding a cauliflower. It's not staged. It's not good
Yes.
for the head.
Right.
It's not. There's no crazy fancy collage. It's just me out at the farmer's market. And so I think that has helped brands really get to know me personally.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I
that's great.
wrote Team Instagram.
All right. So, Liz, anything new coming up for you? Anything you can share?
Oh, geez. I wish I could say something really fun and exciting. I mean, really not too much. There's nothing crazy coming about. I'm just really trying to maintain a good balanced life. I've got two
Yeah.
toddlers home with me, and I'm really just about working with the brands I really want to work with, but
Yeah.
also not being too crazy that I miss out on these early years of my kids' lives. So I am not doing anything really fun or exciting, but I'm really happy having a nice balanced life home.
Balance is great as well. I think it can
Yeah.
be exciting too. So, okay, I've just got a series of a few fun questions I want to ask you here at the end of the interview. So, okay, what is the one food item you cannot live without?
It's obviously lemons. I
Oh,
can't,
wow, you really do like lemons.
oh yeah. I can't live without lemons because I use them all the time to flavor foods and to dress salads or to put in my smoothies. I just think lemon is such a great way to add flavor to food. And of course, the nice thing is there's no calories. So
Really,
I
lemons
love,
have no calories?
well, just about. I mean, it's
Yeah,
probably a
minimal.
few, yeah, very minimal. So,
You probably burn more cutting the lemon than you do.
right. So yeah, I get anxious if I'm out of lemons.
You should be living in like, I don't know,
Uh,
Arizona or something
tell
because
me
that's
about
the
it.
lemons are just everywhere there.
I know.
Okay, so what's your favorite app on your phone?
Mm. I have been having fun with, I believe it's called Diptic, Diptik, excuse me. It's a fun app for doing different collages and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times, I hope I have that right. A lot of times I will be, cooking dinner or like I made homemade mac and cheese for my kids' lunch the other day. Look, I'm not going to do a whole blog post on it just because I can't write a blog post for everything I cook.
Yeah.
There's just not enough days in my editorial calendar. But I think it's important for people to see how easy it is to make a healthy lunch and how easy mac and cheese is. You don't need a box. It
Right.
takes 10 to 15 minutes. So I love that app because I can just take a few quick pictures, put it into one little square, and share it on Instagram or Facebook. So I love it. I have fun with that.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so do you have any time for TV at all? Or and if you do, what's your favorite show?
uh, I have a little time. I wish I had more, but I do make time for Downton Abbey.
Yes,
Husband and I love it, and it's one of the few shows we both love.
that's great.
So we always watch that. And then I'm probably one of the last people, but I still love Grey's Anatomy. So I watch Grey's Anatomy, and lastly, I'm really excited for Mad Men, which is starting up in April again. So those are some of my favorites.
Mad Men's a great, especially if
Yeah.
you've got this, the advertising
Oh my
background.
goodness.
Yeah.
It's so true now that we are working essentially in marketing and advertising. I laugh. It's really interesting to see what it might have been like in the
Yeah.
50s.
And I think even just the cultural changes it's pretty cool to take notice of.
It is. I laugh like when they went to California for the Sunkist account. And it's just funny because I'm writing a blog post for Sunkist this week. And it's just crazy how, of course, as well, so many brands are so timeless. And it's just funny to think what Sunkist might have been doing for advertising back then.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you're at a wedding. There's only two pieces of wedding cake left. One's a corner piece with an icing flour and it's loaded with icing. And the other is from the middle of the cake with only a thin layer of icing. And this is a guilt-free day. You can eat whatever you want. Which piece do you choose?
I'm totally taking the middle. I can't stand icing.
Oh man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you really don't have a sweet tooth.
I don't. I'm such a loser. Hand me the French fries. I just don't love frosting. Okay, my husband got a cake this week from the grocery store. You get a free cake your birthday month, and I'm not gonna eat any of it. It's so sweet to me because I think it's because I haven't been eating sweets for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes me sick. But don't get me wrong, some good cake, like I love like my mom makes really good chocolate coffee icing. You know, maybe that's what it is. But you know, sometimes those huge icing flowers, it's just too much. So I'm going
over
for
the top.
You
and
can
they're
have the corner.
pink and Okay, Liz, how can people find you online?
You can find me everywhere at the Lemon Bowl. I'm everywhere. The Lemon Bowl.
Lemonbowl.com.
Yep, lemonbowl.com. On Pinterest, I'm at the Lemon Bowl, on Instagram, everywhere.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Liz, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you. It was so fun to talk with you. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks to Liz Della Croce for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. Be sure to go to choppedpodcast.com to learn more about today's show. Thanks to everyone for your reviews of the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and social media as well. You know that those reviews and your emails and comments on social media, they all really mean so much to me, means the world. You inspire me, and I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.